be the one you want, but we will work with you. Others, if you have questions, any of our planning staff would be glad to talk to you on these calls. Thank you. Next, we have Economic Development Incentive for Wicked Weed Brewing, LLC. Mr. Frew?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this project is more of a direct arm's length transaction than it is a big economic development incentive. It's a sale of the spec building that we've had for many years, and it's good to sell it. I think many people have noticed that the tax appraisal value for the spec building is $1.5 million and change, and we're agreeing to sell it for $1,300,000. I spoke with the tax director and chief assessor. We got to remember that this is just a shell of a building. As part of this deal, we're fixing the roof. We're spending $35,000 now currently fixing the roof so they can go in there and be dry. But there's no floor, there's no plumbing, there's no sewer, there's no electricity. So the tax office did agree with me that based on that current condition, $1.3 million is a fair market transaction. The effect of what Wicked Weed Brews doing for Wicked Weed is doing for their expansion is 75 new jobs over a period of 5 years between now and December 2018, and they'll get $74,925. The direct, Max, can you show that first slide? So that's 75 direct jobs. The labor impact we'll show on the other side in a moment. That's $2,400,000 per year at an average of $32,000 a year, which they're anticipating to pay their new 75 employees, which creates about 100 indirect jobs and 44 additional reduced jobs. That's like Buncombe County has roughly 1,400 employees. So in the county, you have extra grocers, you have extra people at restaurants, you have extra people doing stuff. So 75 new jobs does leverage approximately 144 other jobs, which is about $5.5 million. Max, if you could show the second slide. And that depicts what our modest investment of $74,000, almost 75, does in terms of helping Wicked Weed with this expansion and their hiring of 75 brand new jobs at an average of $32,000 a year that is not including benefits. As far as the incentive agreement, the highlights you need to know, 21 jobs the first year, 18 the second, third, and fourth. That makes the total of the 75 jobs. As far as the spec building is concerned, they're also agreeing between now and roughly, and we got Rick Guthrie here to give you some of the details of the plan, but they'll be investing $800,000 to make the spec building ready for their operations, fixing the floor, putting in offices, and putting in other things before they can put in their equipment and before they can dial in their equipment to produce their product. What this will do effective October 1st, we have two things. We have an agreement to lease the property and we have a purchase and sale agreement. So the purchase and sale agreement is a regular agreement, like an offer to purchase a contract. If you're buying a home, it's just for more money. It's for $1,300,000. As part of what they're doing, we'll give them some breathing room between now and the middle of next year, only $1 rent on a lease, and then $30,000 for the balance of next year from July through December, $60,000 in 2016 paid monthly, and $70,000 paid monthly over monthly in the year 2017. And what the purchase and sale agreement does is allows them, as a matter of right, at any time, once we enter into the incentive agreement, to go ahead and say, we want to go ahead and buy it today for the $1,300,000. They don't have to wait till the end of 2018. They can do it in the middle of next year. And there's no reason to believe that they won't hang on to it and do that purchase sooner rather than later, since they'll have that large investment of $800,000 to put it into a position where they can use it as a brewery facility and start being in there and operating it daily. They just want some flexibility, and that's what we've done with this agreement. If there's any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them. Otherwise, introduce Rick Guthrie to tell you more about the project.
Any questions from Mr. Frew before we hear from Mr. Guthrie? Okay, Rick, come on up.
Hi, my name is Rick Guthrie, one of the founders of Wicked Weed Brewing, and it's an honor to be here tonight. Thank you to all the commissioners. We started the company a little over 2.5 years ago. I've been in Buncombe County for 25 years, had another business that I retired from after 30 some odd years. We actually migrated that business from California to Buncombe County in 1989. This particular project is one which we as a group of owners decided we really wanted to expand, and we wanted to do it, number one, in North Carolina, more of a priority in Buncombe County, Nashville. Two junior partners graduated from T.C. Robertson High School. We're all Ashevilleans. We want to stay here. We had opportunities to move this project to other states or other counties, but it was our passion and our dream to keep it in Buncombe County. And that's when we started looking for property. We looked at a number of buildings. This one in particular just happened to fit the exact size we were looking for. The location, of course, being in Asheville and Buncombe County. A little bit of incorrect information that I provided. After meeting with two design-build architects, local firms here in town, the money that we'll have to put into this building to get it operational, to be up to code, all safety code, ADA, and to get it operational for us with getting power, electricity, water, sewer, HVAC. It's about $1.3 million. So that $800,000 has gone up to about $500,000. And as a company, we're willing to take that risk and to spend that money. All this money is not, I don't want anybody to think there's this pot of gold that we all are dipping into. We're going out to the banks, the local banks here, and borrowing that money. In total, we're borrowing $4.2 million, 1.3 for now for the building, and about 2.9 to 3 for all the equipment that we're putting in that facility. So the 75 new jobs, which we think is very conservative, we think it'll be, I don't want to throw out a number, but probably much higher than that, but we wanted to be conservative in our estimates. And so again, our goal and our wish and our dream was to stay in Buncombe County, and that seems like it's a reality. And I'm on the record. I see that I'm on television here. So if the incentives became a point of contention, we would forego those and still move into this facility and pay to do what we're doing and make the investment regardless of those incentives. Again, I'm probably putting my foot in the mouth right there, but I don't want that to be a reason not to be able to move into this facility. We'd be more than happy to do it without those. So again, we're excited about our business. We're excited to be doing it here. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Any questions, Mr. Gunn? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Next, we will, unless there are any questions for general comments before public comment, I'll open the public comment. Any questions beforehand? Okay, I'll go ahead and declare the public hearing in the Wicked Weed incentive proposal open at 5:49. Any members of the public wish to be heard on this? Mr. Rice. Anybody else besides Mr. Rice? Okay, come on up, Jerry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I am an Enka County resident. I've known this place out there many, many years, 63 of them about it. There's some things that need to be cleared up. This board has never come out of closed session on this piece of property at 145 Jacob Home Way. It's never been made public. The newspaper picked it up, and from there he just run with it. This has never been made public or a discussion. So I want you to go back and check your minutes. My videos show different. The other thing is, the attorney says you was on this property for a long time. Why did you get a deed for it in December 13, 2013? And paid $1.5 million on the deed. How did you come up with that? I don't know. The other thing is I'm not opposed to Wicked Weed having a piece of property there. They want to live on that contaminated site. That's fine with me. But one thing that I do think the commissioners needs to be clear on, and we as public taxpayers need to know if you've done an environmental study before or after you bought this piece of property. And I'd like to know how many years you've owned it. It's not been on the deed. So I'd like to know how you own this piece of property. I wish them the best if they want to endeavor in this. But $32,000 a year for people to be employed, it don't even meet the requirements to living wages. So we're going to have that many more people that can access a social service in our county. So if we don't get jobs that's going to pay anything, how are we going to get people off social service? Thanks, bud.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Any other public comment on the Wicked Weed incentive proposal? All right, let's see if we can answer those questions. Environmental studies and how long have you owned the property and living wage? Mr. Pruitt?
I need to.
The property was deeded to us by donation in December of 13. The value assigned to it was for the donation standpoint and the tax write-off by the Fletcher Partners. So we've never purchased this building, it was donated to us.
And I did misspeak, I mean, saying that we had owned it for a long time. It was part of an economic development package. The spec building is intended to draw business, draw any type of business from afar or from near. And unfortunately, we got it near, and been trying to move that building through the economic development partnership for 7 or 8 years.
How long has the building existed?
6 years.
6 or 7 years. And when it was initially built, and it was built privately, it was not built with county funds, we did pay carrying cost on it of about $225,000. It was needed product. It's 40,000 square foot building that's expandable to 80,000 square feet. It is very much a raw building, just a shell with, as Mr. Fruit said, there's no floor in this.
Well, as I remember that, the building, the Chamber of Commerce, the headhunters, the industrial recruiters came to us and said, you need more product.
That's right.
And I think we got involved in a partnership at that point, public-private, with Fletcher.
Mm-hmm.
And then Fletcher owned it. We put some money into it. They owned it, and they kept it. And we kept on hoping someone would buy it. And we didn't have any nibbles, maybe nibbles, but
We showed it a lot.
showed it a lot. So we never even finished it up. And now we've got someone that's willing to do it that is a success story. And so we're taking advantage of that. Is that pretty much what y'all see?
That is. And I'm not aware, to go the next part of that question, Mr. Creighton may know, I'm not aware of an environmental study. I know there's been several environmental studies in the area, most notably the school very nearby, and there's been no red flags on the environmental studies down at the proposed new Enka Intermediate. And the BASF site is a different matter, which is of course a brownfield and protected under those regulations. And the only thing I know of regulation-wise that has been done on this particular property was there's a lot of fill dirt placed in prior to construction to get it up out of the flood zone. So that has occurred.
Has anyone presented Wicked Weed or Buncombe County or Fletcher with any study by an engineer, qualified expert that says this thing's contaminated?
Oh, no, not that I'm aware of, no.
And this building was built with a loan from the bank, and the bank is fairly particular about having environmental assessments done before they'll loan money on a project.
All righty. Anything addressing these questions? I need to close the public hearing before. I'm probably got a little bit out of order there. Any other questions about these issues that were raised in public comment? Okay. Anybody else want to be heard? Any other members of the public want to be heard on the Wicked Weed incentive proposal? If not, I'll declare the public hearing closed at 5:54. Is there a motion or is there discussion among the board? Let's say any questions first, then I'll ask for a motion. If no questions, is there a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the economic incentive policy that has been discussed? So moved. Motion by Commissioner Newman, is there a second?
Sorry.
Second by Commissioner Fry. Is there any discussion or any comments, any commissioner?
I do have one. I'm probably going to be the lone ranger on this vote. I'll be voting against it, but I want to be very clear to the owners. This has absolutely nothing to do with you at all, but I cannot vote for extending incentives to the beer and alcohol industry.
Okay, any other comments? Well, I'd just say we had a event at Wicked Weed. We had to talk about all these possibilities. I learned at the event that Wicked Weed, in less than a year of existence, went up to the World Championship of beer in Colorado and won a national award, beat out companies that have been around for 100 years. And I think the buzz out there was, what's a Wicked Weed? And then after you won the award, it's like, how can I find out more about Wicked Weed? So Rick and his family and the Dickinsons have really created an iconic champion business. And it is with great pleasure that I'll make the motion to approve the resolution. Is there any other comments, or is there a second? Second by Vice Chair Frost. Any other comments? We've said our boys went to school together. That has nothing to do with my decision. I do know your people. I do know that they have created a really nationally recognized product. And congratulations on doing it in such a short period of time. Any other comment? Okay, there's been a motion by the chairman, a second by the vice chairman. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no.
No.
The motion carries 6-0, Belcher against. Next up, we have under new business. We don't have a county manager's report, I think we established. Next up, we have need approval for a joint letter endorsing tourism product development projects. One that we are proposing and one that the City of Asheville is proposing. Has everybody had a chance to look at the letter from Mayor Manheimer? Okay.
Motion.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion we approve.
Okay. The motion by Commissioner Belcher. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Commissioner King. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Then I will sign that letter on behalf of the Commission by a 7-0 vote. Next, we have affordable housing. We're going to hear from Mandy Stone about our housing model to serve workforce and hard to place populations.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. And while Max is bringing up the PowerPoint, I have the honor of presenting this tonight, but would like to acknowledge the hard work of the Oak Hill Commons Partnership and recognize our partners. The first being, if they'll just stand up, Ward Griffin, who is the developer. Emily Ball is here from Homeward Bound. She's a Housing Services Director. David Nash, who's the Chief Operating Officer with the City of Asheville Housing Authority. Heather Dealshaw, who's the Coordinator of Homeless Services for the city, in a position the county's proud to help support and contribute to. Dr. Rich Munger, who is a member of the Homeless Initiative Advisory Committee and, as you know, a valuable county employee who leads us in most of our efforts around behavioral health investments. Other two partners who are not here tonight but have been at the table, Smoky Mountain Center, Mental Health LME, and Mission Hospital. Roxanne McKinney, who's the Director of Safety Net Provider Relations, has been at the table with this model too, and I'd just like to recognize them. They did all the work, and I hope will correct me if I make any mistakes as we move forward. What we bring to you tonight is really a merged model. It includes both an evidence-based service delivery model for supportive housing. It also includes the opportunity to address affordable workforce housing in one project. Max, if you'll bring up the next slide. In bringing the proposal, or any proposal, to the Board of Commissioners, I feel like the county manager is always clear with department heads that we need to balance the needs of multiple entities, including what's good for business and our economy, for the community, what's good for the individuals we serve, what's good for a stable workforce. We depend on that workforce both for county employees and for the multitudes of other service providers in our community. And equally important, is it a good investment of taxpayer dollars? So that's the frame I bring you tonight. In Health and Human Services, we only ask you to support initiatives that are, one, evidence-based, meaning that there has been research that shows they work some other place in the nation. We only bring you initiatives that are built on smart partnerships where we leverage resources and talents and skills and bring them all together, be that faith-based, public, private, nonprofit, and in this instance, a combination of all of those. We only bring you sustainable models, and I bring you that tonight. While we are asking you for initial and capital investment, we are not asking you for ongoing service dollars to support that. And we also only bring you initiatives where we can show cost savings or cost avoidance that offset your initial investment. Who are the hard to house? That's about 10% of those most chronically homeless, and we believe that count is, we know that count is somewhere between 36 and 37, and I'll use 36 as the number tonight. They're typically single adults. That's true not only in Buncombe County, but when you look at the profile nationwide, they typically have untreated mental health issues. Almost 50% of them have post-traumatic stress disorder, been diagnosed with that. They're mostly uninsured, and they typically have already failed at least one housing placement. The cost to the community and why this is important to the county, as well as to Health and Human Services, is reflected in our hospital emergency rooms, our inpatient hospitals, both medical and psychiatric, our emergency service providers, law enforcement, the jails, the court system, and our shelters. Just to give you some examples of the costs we believe this model will offset, is we looked at the 36 most frequent users in our community and ran data on them. When we looked at those who have entered our detention center or jail, if we look at the 2 most frequent users of the jail out of that population, just as an example, in FY14, one of them was booked 25 times at a cost of $23,000, and the second 77 times at a cost of $35,000. So a little over $58,000 for 2 of those 36 individuals. And I would note, back to the first bullet, that they're mostly charged with misdemeanors, these individuals. If you look at the cost of the hard to house from a medical perspective, they average 30 or more visits to the emergency room annually. If you look at the single highest user of emergency room among that group, the unreimbursed cost of that was $100,000 last fiscal year. So one individual. If you look at the cost of EMS, specific to this population, they made 497 trips, and we're not reimbursed for that because most of these individuals are not covered by insurance, and the cost was $250,000 last year. Talking about 36 individuals in our community.